My millionaire son-in-law kicked me out of my only grandson's party in front of 200 guests. Get out of here, beggar. You're bringing shame to my family. Have you ever been humiliated in front of dozens of people by the very person who should respect you? Have you ever felt the ground crumble beneath your feet while everyone laughed at your misfortune? I have. And I'm going to tell you how I transformed the worst humiliation of my life into the greatest revenge you've ever seen. My name is Robert Thompson. I'm 68 years old, and for 40 years I worked as a mechanic in a small shop in Austin, Texas. I was never rich, but I always had dignity, until the day my son-in-law, the arrogant Chad Whitmore, tore me apart in front of everyone at my grandson Oliver's 5th birthday party. He threw me out like I was trash. He called me a beggar, a disgrace to the family. And you know what was worse? My own daughter, Sarah, stayed silent. She didn't say a word while her husband was destroying me. But Chad made a mistake. A huge mistake. He didn't know a secret I'd kept for decades, a secret worth millions. And when he found out, it was too late. This is the story of my revenge, and I guarantee you won't believe the ending. Before we begin, tell me, where are you watching from? Leave a comment. And if you enjoy stories of revenge and justice, subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications. It all started on a sunny Tuesday in May. I was in my small 2-bedroom house in suburban Austin, fixing the backyard fence, when I heard the doorbell ring. I hadn't had many visitors since my daughter Sarah married Chad 6 years ago. When I opened the door, I found a thick gold envelope in the mailbox. My heart raced when I saw the name, Mr. Robert Thompson, written in ornate lettering. It was an invitation to the 5th birthday party of Oliver, my only grandson. I hadn't seen that boy in almost a year. Chad always made excuses, that they were busy, that Oliver had many activities, that their schedule was full. The truth, he was ashamed of me. A retired mechanic living on a $1,200 a month pension didn't fit the image of the perfect family he wanted to project. But there was the invitation. Perhaps Sarah would have insisted. Perhaps she still held on to some love for the memory of the father who raised her alone after her mother died of cancer when she was only 8 years old. I spent the next few days planning. I used $150 of my savings, almost half of what I had set aside for emergencies, to buy Oliver a special gift, a children's toolkit. After all, he always loved watching me fix things when he was younger. I also bought new clothes, a simple dress shirt and tailored trousers from Walmart. Nothing luxurious, but presentable. On the Saturday of the party, I took 2 buses to get to the Whitmore mansion in Westlake Hills, the wealthiest neighborhood in Austin. The house was immense, with automatic gates and a circular driveway where luxury cars were parked. Mercedes, BMW, Tesla. My stomach churned. I didn't belong in that world. The party was in the backyard. When I walked in, I saw at least 200 people, executives in expensive suits, women in designer dresses, children running among giant inflatable toys, and a 3-story inflatable castle structure that must have cost thousands of dollars. Oliver was at the center of it all, dressed like a little prince. My heart filled with love. I had to get to him. I started walking among the guests. Some looked at me with curiosity, others with disdain. My Walmart clothes were like a beacon screaming, "He doesn't belong here." I was just a few feet away from Oliver when a firm hand grabbed my shoulder. "What the hell are you doing here?" It was Chad. Tall, tanned, in his $3,000 suit and with that arrogant smile I hated so much. Next to him was Sarah, beautiful in a blue dress, but with eyes that no longer recognized me. I came to Oliver's party. I received an invitation. Chad glared at Sarah angrily. "I told you not to invite him." "He's my father, Chad," Sarah murmured softly without looking me in the eye. Your father? Chad let out a loud laugh. That broke mechanic? Look at him, Sarah. Look at those cheap clothes. He's a shame to this family. Conversations around them began to die down. People turned to watch the scene. Please, I just want to give the gift to my grandson, I tried to say, holding the wrapped box. That's when Chad did. Something I'll never forget. He grabbed the box from my hand and threw it on the floor. The wrapping ripped open, revealing the children's toolkit. Tools? He laughed even louder. You think my son is going to be a lousy mechanic like you? Can you believe the audacity of this man? How dare he treat a grandfather like that? The silence that fell over the garden was deafening. 200 pairs of eyes were fixed on me, some with pity, most with morbid curiosity, waiting to see what would happen next. I bent down to pick up the pieces of the torn package. My hands trembled, not from fear, but from a mixture of humiliation and anger I hadn't felt in decades. The small plastic tools were scattered on the neatly trimmed grass. Leave that there, Chad ordered, deliberately stepping on a small toy hammer and breaking it. Nobody here wants your hobo trinkets. Chad, stop. Sarah finally spoke, but so quietly that it was barely audible. For what, Sarah? He turned to her. Dramatically. Stop protecting this man who's embarrassing us. Look around. We have the CEOs of the biggest tech companies in Austin here. I have investors, business partners, and your father shows up looking like a bum. The words were like punches to the gut, each one carefully chosen to destroy me, and he was enjoying it. I could see it in his eyes, that sadistic glint of someone who finally had the perfect excuse to do what he always wanted. I dressed as best I could, she said, trying to maintain her dignity. I just wanted to see my grandson. I just wanted... Your grandson? Chad interrupted me. Oliver is my son, and I decide who is allowed to be near him. And you, he pointed his finger in my face, you are no longer welcome in this family. Oliver had stopped playing. From the bouncy castle, those little blue eyes looked at me, confused. Did he recognize me? Did he remember Grandpa, who used to push him on the swing? Grandpa? His little voice called. My heart nearly burst. He remembered. Oliver, start playing again, Chad yelled at the boy, startling him. The child ran inside the castle crying. You made my grandson cry, I whispered. No, Chad yelled, poking my chest with his finger. You did it! You showed up here at this expensive party I paid for, in this house I bought, and created this circus. Everything you touch turns to shame. Some women in the crowd were whispering amongst themselves. Some men were shaking their heads disapprovingly. But I don't know if it was at me or at Chad. I've worked my whole life, I said, feeling tears burn my eyes but refusing to let them fall. I raised Sarah alone after her mother died. I paid every bill, every school uniform, every college tuition with my honest work. I never asked anything of anyone. And you dare to call me a disgrace? Honest work? Chad laughed cruelly. You were a mechanic. You fixed cars. Your hands were covered in grease. That's not honest work. That's poor. People's work. That was the last straw. I knew that if I stayed there another second, I would do something I would regret. I looked at Sarah one last time. She was crying silently, but she still hadn't said a word in my defense. My own daughter. The little girl I rocked when she had nightmares, the one I taught to ride a bike, the one I hugged on graduation day. She had chosen his side. Okay, I said, my voice hoarse. I'll leave. No! Chad yelled. You're not going anywhere. You're going to be kicked out. I'll gladly escort you to the exit so everyone here can see the kind of people who are not welcome in my house. He grabbed my arm forcefully, his nails digging into my skin. And there, in front of 200 people, Chad Whitmore dragged me across the garden as if I were trash. How dare this man do this to an elderly person? What kind of person humiliates a grandfather in front of his own grandson? Each step toward the exit seemed to last an eternity. Chad held my arm with unnecessary force, making sure everyone saw. It was a display of power, a public demonstration that he was the king of that castle, and I was just an intruder. "Make way," he announced dramatically as he pushed me. "Let them pass. We need to clear the trash from here." Laughter. I could hear laughter. Not from everyone. Some looked away, clearly uncomfortable. But others, mainly Chad's friends, those men in expensive suits and gold watches, laughed openly. "Chad, man, you're being too nice," one of them yelled. "You should call security." "You're right, Marcus," Chad replied. "But you know how it is. I have a very kind heart. I'll just personally escort you to the street." We passed by the dessert table, a 3-meter-high structure with cakes, cupcakes, French pastries, and a chocolate fountain. It must have cost what I earn in 3 months. We passed the professional DJ, the VIP area with white sofas, and the full bar with a bartender making personalized drinks. Every element of that party was a reminder of the distance between their world and mine. When we reached the front gate, Chad finally let go of me, but not without one last shove that almost made me trip. "And don't you dare come back here," he said venomously. "Don't you dare call Sarah. Don't you dare try to see Oliver again. You're not family anymore. You're nothing." I turned to face him one last time. "One day you'll regret this." He laughed in my face. "Regret? Regret what? Finally having the courage to do what I should have done years ago. You're a shame, Robert. You always have been. And now, thank God, my son will never again have to be contaminated by your poverty." The automatic gate opened behind me. Outside, the real world awaited me. The normal street, the normal houses, even if they were million-dollar mansions. The lives of people who hadn't just been kicked out of their own grandson's party. I started walking. My legs were weak, my heart was broken, but I didn't look back. I wasn't going to give him the pleasure of seeing me fall apart. I walked 3 blocks to the bus stop. Every step hurt, not physically. At 68, I was still strong from my decades of mechanical work, but emotionally, I was devastated. I sat on the bus stop bench and finally let the tears fall. There, alone, where no one could see me, I cried. I cried for the humiliation. I cried for my daughter who abandoned me. I cried for my grandson, whom I would probably never see again. The bus took 40 minutes to arrive. 40 minutes sitting on that bench, reliving every second of that humiliation. 40 minutes listening to Chad's words echoing in my head. "You are nothing." When the bus finally arrived, I got on and paid the $2.50 fare, an amount that had previously seemed insignificant, but now represented almost everything I had left. I sat in the back, looking out the window without really seeing anything. The trip back home took an hour and a half with the 2 connections. An hour and a half to process. An hour and a half to feel the anger begin to replace the sadness. When I finally got home, the sun was setting. My small 2-bedroom house had never seemed so empty. The walls were covered with photos of Sarah growing up, from childhood to graduation to her wedding. It now felt like a museum of a life that no longer existed. I went to the kitchen and grabbed an old beer that had been in the fridge for months. I sat at the table, the same table where Sarah did her homework as a child, where we celebrated her first job, where I comforted her when her first boyfriend broke up with her. And it was there, alone, in the darkness of my kitchen, that I made a decision. They wanted to destroy me? Okay. But I wasn't going to just accept it. No way. If you're enjoying this story, leave a like and share it with someone who needs to see this. I couldn't sleep that night. I lay in bed staring at the ceiling, reliving every second of that humiliation. Chad's voice echoed in my mind. "You are nothing." At 3 a.m., I gave up trying to sleep. I went down to the kitchen and made strong coffee. Sitting at the table, I started to think, really, what did I have? An old house that was falling apart, a boarding house that barely covered the bills, no family that wanted me around. Was Chad right? No. The anger returned with a vengeance. I did have something. Something they didn't know. Something I had kept secret for over 40 years. I finished my coffee and went down the creaking stairs that led to the basement. I hadn't been down there in months. The place was full of old boxes, antique workshop tools, mementos from a lifetime. Dust covered everything. In the farthest corner, behind 3 Christmas boxes I hadn't opened in years, was a locked metal chest. My heart raced when I saw it. 42 years since I last looked at its contents. I retrieved the key that was hidden inside an old toolbox. My hands trembled as I unlocked the chest. The lock was rusty, but still worked. The click of the padlock opening rang loudly in the silence of the basement. Open the lid. Inside, wrapped in protective plastic yellowed with age, were the documents. The papers that changed my life more than 4 decades ago. The papers I had hidden and sworn never to touch again. In 1982, I was 26 years old and working at old Mr. Harrison's auto shop in East Austin. It was a small but honest place. We fixed cars for working people like ourselves. One day, a man drove in a classic 1959 baby blue Cadillac, asking for a simple oil change. But when I put the car on the lift, something fell out of the chassis. A thick brown envelope sealed with adhesive tape. Inside were legal documents, deeds, property certificates, records for a company called Southwestern Tech Solutions, a tech startup that was in its early stages in Austin, and a letter explaining that those documents were the inheritance that the driver's father, a certain William Porter, had left him before he died. The driver had hidden them there in the car because he was going through a contentious divorce and didn't want his ex-wife to know about the inheritance. I should have returned it immediately. I should have chased after the man. But when he came back to get the car, I didn't say anything. I kept the envelope. I don't know why. Maybe because I was desperate. Sarah was only a year old. My wife was sick. All the bills were overdue. Maybe because I thought it was a sign from the universe. I spent months trying to decide what to do. I tried to locate the man, but the address he gave was false. I tried to find information about this Southwestern Tech Solutions, but at the time, before the internet, it was nearly impossible. And then my wife died, and I had a young daughter to raise alone, and those papers remained locked away in the trunk, a secret I carried like a burden. Now, holding them again after so many years, my eyes widened at a detail I hadn't noticed. Before, in the corner of the stock certificate in small print, was a corporate name that was familiar to me. Very familiar. Southwestern Tech Solutions changed its name in 1995. The new name, Whitmore Digital Industries, a company from Chad. My hands began to tremble violently. Chad Whitmore, the man who humiliated me, the man who called me nothing, the man who built his empire, with a company that should have been inherited by someone else. Wait, what does that mean? Did Chad know about this? What is Robert going to do now? I spent the rest of the night in the basement, carefully reading each document. My hands trembled, not from fear, but from a mixture of shock and possibility. The possibility that maybe, just maybe, I had something valuable in my hands. The documents dated from 1982. William Porter had left 40% of the shares of Southwestern Tech Solutions to his son, Edward Porter. But Edward never claimed the inheritance. Why? What had happened to him? At 6 a.m., as the sun began to rise, I climbed up from the basement with the documents carefully stored in an old folder. My first instinct was to call Sarah, but I remembered. She had abandoned me. She hadn't said a word when Chad humiliated me. She had chosen his side. I needed help, but from someone I could trust, someone who wasn't impressed by Chad's money or his connections. I thought of Marcus Chen, an old friend from my garage days. Marcus had become a respectable lawyer, specializing in corporate law. He owed me some favors. I'd fixed his car for free for years when he was struggling in law school. I called his office at 9 a.m. sharp as soon as they opened. Chen and Associates, how can I help you? Hi, I need to speak with Marcus Chen. This is Robert Thompson. Mr. Thompson, long time no see. Mr. Chen will be delighted to know you called. Just a moment. I was transferred. Seconds later, Marcus's familiar voice filled the line. Robert, man, it's been years. How are you? I took a deep breath. Marcus, I need your help. It's urgent and confidential. His tone changed immediately. Sure. Can you come to the office today? 2 hours later, I was sitting in the conference room of Marcus's office in downtown Austin. The walls were glass, overlooking the city skyline, so different from the small office he had when he started. Marcus entered, now 66 years old, with grey hair but still with that warm smile I knew. We hugged. Robert, you look tired. What happened? I told them. Everything, the party, the humiliation, Chad, and then I put the documents on the table. Marcus's face changed completely as he read. His eyes widened. He picked up a magnifying glass and examined stamps, signatures, dates. Robert, he whispered, do you know what this means? I'm not sure. Whitmore Digital Industries is worth $800 million today. $800 million. If these documents are legitimate, and by God they look legitimate, then Edward Porter or his heirs own 40% of that company. My stomach churned. That would be $320 million, Marcus finished, plus decades of back dividends that could easily reach $500 million. Silence. The kind of silence that happens when the whole world changes in a second. Marcus, he finally said, I need to find Edward Porter. I need to know what happened to him. I need to know if he's alive and if he even knows this exists. Marcus shook his head thoughtfully. This is going to be complicated. We need a private investigator, someone discreet. If Chad finds out you're investigating this, he did everything to humiliate me, I interrupted, feeling anger burning in my chest. He treated me like trash. He took my daughter away from me. He prevented me from seeing my grandson. And now I find out that his empire can be built on something that should belong to someone else. Robert, listen. Marcus put his hand on my shoulder. If we're going to do this, we need to do it right. Legally, no shortcuts, because men like Chad Whitmore have armies of lawyers, a fortune to defend, and they'll fight with everything they've got. Then let's fight, he said, determined. I have nothing to lose. He's already taken everything from me. Marcus smiled. Well, in that case, let's find Edward Porter, and let's find out the truth. For the first time in 24 hours, I felt something other than pain. I felt hope. Marcus hired Janet Rodriguez, a private investigator he knew from other corporate cases. Janet was petite, discreet, the kind of person you wouldn't notice in a crowd, exactly what we needed. It only took her 3 days. 3 days for her to find out what happened to Edward Porter. The following Tuesday, I went back to Marcus's office. Janet was there with a thick file on her desk. I found him, she said without preamble. Edward Porter. Or rather, I found out what happened to him. My heart raced. Is he alive? Janet shook her head negatively. He died in 1991, lung cancer, but... She opened the file. He had a son, Nathan Porter, and Nathan is very much alive. She slid a photo across the table. A man of about 50, thin, with a tired look. He was wearing some kind of manual labor uniform. Nathan Porter, 52 years old, lives in a trailer park in Del Valle, works as a janitor at a public school, divorced, 2 adult children, annual salary $28,000. The irony was cruel. The rightful heir to a $320 million fortune was living in poverty, while Chad Whitmore was swimming in gold. Does he know? I asked. Does he know about the inheritance? There's no way to know, Janet replied. Edward died when Nathan was 18 and in the army. According to my records, father and son hadn't spoken for years before that. They had a falling out when Nathan was a teenager. Edward was an alcoholic and abusive. Nathan ran away from home at 16. Marcus was listening silently, scribbling notes. So Edward hid the documents in the car, I continued. Probably during the divorce, planning to complain later. But then... what? He forgot? He died before? Probably, Marcus agreed. And when Edward died, Nathan didn't know he was entitled to that inheritance because he never saw those documents. And Chad somehow took control of the company. I finished. But how? Janet flipped through more papers. In 1987, Southwestern Tech Solutions was experiencing financial difficulties. The original founder, James Whitmore, Chad's father, injected capital and took majority control. In 1995, he renamed it Whitmore Digital Industries. When James died in 2010, Chad inherited everything. Wait, I raised my hand. James Whitmore bought the company? How? If Edward Porter owned 40% of the shares? Marcus and Janet exchanged glances. That's the million-dollar question, Marcus said. Or rather, the $320 million question. Either the Whitmores knew Edward was missing and took advantage of it, which would be corporate fraud, or they didn't know, and this is just a terrible legal coincidence. We need to talk to Nathan, I decided. He has a right to know. He has a right to this fortune. Robert, Marcus looked at me seriously, you need to understand the implications. If we help Nathan contest these actions, it will trigger a massive legal battle. Chad will fight with everything he's got. It will cost millions in lawyers' fees, and it will destroy Whitmore Digital Industries. The company may not survive a scandal of this magnitude. And Sarah, I asked, my voice hoarse. She's married to Chad. If his company collapses, she's going to suffer the consequences, Marcus agreed. Financial ones for sure. Maybe even personal ones if it's proven there was fraud and Chad is criminally prosecuted. I remained silent. My daughter, the girl I raised, the girl I loved, the girl who abandoned me, was I prepared to potentially destroy her life out of revenge? Janet broke the silence. Mr. Thompson, may I ask a personal question? Of course. Why are you doing this? Is it about money, about revenge, or about justice? I thought carefully before answering. I spent 40 years feeling guilty for keeping these documents. I thought I was a thief, that I had stolen someone's inheritance. Now I know I can correct that. Nathan Porter deserves to know the truth. He deserves what is rightfully his. I took a deep breath. What if Chad suffers in the process? Well, maybe that's justice. Is Chad finally going to pay for everything? What would you do in Robert's place? On Thursday, I drove to Del Valle. It was an area I knew well, on the outskirts of Austin, where working people struggled to survive on minimum wage. The trailer park where Nathan lived was clean, but clearly worn by time. Marcus had insisted on coming with me. You're not going to do this alone, he said. This is too big. We found Nathan's trailer easily, number 47, with a small, rusty children's bicycle on the lawn. It must have belonged to one of his grandchildren. I knocked nervously on the aluminum door. A man opened the door, Nathan Porter himself. He looked older than in the photo. Hard work had left its mark on his face. He had tired but kind eyes. "Can I help?" he asked, looking at us with confusion. "Mr. Porter, my name is Robert Thompson. This is Marcus Chen, a lawyer. We need to speak with you about your father, Edward Porter." Nathan's face immediately hardened. "My father died 33 years ago. I have nothing to say about him." He began to close the door. "Wait!" Marcus put his hand on the door. "Please, it's about an inheritance, a very large inheritance that your father left you." Nathan stopped. "Inheritance? My father died drunk and broke. He left nothing but debts." "May I come in?" I asked. "It will only take a few minutes, and I promise it will be worth listening to." Nathan hesitated, then sighed and opened the door completely. "Come in." The trailer's interior was small but tidy. Family. Photos hung on the walls. A younger Nathan in the army, 2 children growing up, a woman who was presumably his ex-wife. We sat on a worn sofa. I opened the folder and took out the documents. Nathan looked at them, confused. "In 1982, I began, your father hid these papers in his car, stock certificates for a company called Southwestern Tech Solutions. 40% of the company. I found them by accident when I was fixing the car." Nathan picked up the papers and examined them. "I don't understand. Southwestern, I've never heard of it. The company changed its name in 1995, Marcus explained. Today it's called Whitmore Digital Industries." Nathan's face went pale. "Whitmore? The tech company? The one that's worth $800 million, I finished. "And if these documents are legitimate, and we believe they are, you own 40% of this company. That means $320 million plus back dividends." The silence that followed was absolute. Nathan looked at the papers. Then at me, then at Marcus, back at the papers. His hands began to tremble. Is this some kind of scam?" he finally asked. "Because I don't have any money. I don't have anything of value for you to steal." "This is not a scam," Marcus replied firmly. "I am a licensed attorney in Austin. I can show you my credentials. These documents are real, and we believe you have a very strong legal case." Nathan stood up abruptly, pacing the small room. $320 million. I can't even process it. I work 60 hours a week cleaning schools to earn $28,000 a year. My daughter had to drop out of college because we couldn't afford it. My son is in the army because there were no other options." He turned to me, tears in his eyes. "Why are you telling me this now? Why have you kept this to yourself for 40 years? The question hit me like a punch. I didn't know. I didn't know who your father was. I tried to find him at the time, but he had given a false address. And then my wife died, and I had a daughter to raise alone, and you kept the documents," Nathan finished bitterly. "Yes," I admitted, "and I've hated myself for it every single day for the last 42 years. But now I can fix it. I can give back what's yours." Nathan sat down again, his head in his hands. "And what do you want in return? Because nobody does something like this for free." "Revenge," he said simply. "The current CEO of Whitmore Digital Industries, Chad Whitmore, is my son-in-law. He publicly humiliated me. He kicked me out of my grandson's party. He called me trash." Nathan looked at me with new eyes. "So this is about revenge." "This is about justice," I corrected. "You deserve what's yours. And if Chad suffers in the process, well, I'm not going to pretend I won't enjoy it." Nathan needed 3 days to process the information. Marcus and I gave him space but made it clear we were ready to help whenever he decided. The following Monday, Nathan called. "Let's do it," was all he said. On Tuesday, the 3 of us met again at Marcus's office. This time, Marcus had invited 2 partners, Angela Martinez, a specialist in corporate law, and David Okonkwo, a specialist in high-value litigation. "Gentlemen, Angela began, opening a laptop. I spent the weekend reviewing these documents with our forensic team. The good news? They're authentic. Every signature, every stamp, every notarial seal, everything is legitimate. This was officially registered. In 1982. And the bad news? Nathan asked. It's going to be a battle, David replied. Chad Whitmore has the best lawyers money can buy. His obvious defense will be statute of limitations, that too much time has passed, that you should have claimed this inheritance decades ago. But he didn't know, I protested. Exactly, Angela smiled. And that's our defense. Nathan had no way of knowing. His father hid the documents, and more importantly, the Whitmores took control of the company in 1987 without doing due diligence to locate all the shareholders. That's corporate negligence at best, fraud at worst. Marcus leaned forward. Our strategy is threefold. First, we reclaim the shares. Second, we demand all unpaid dividends since 1982. Third, if we find evidence that the Whitmores knew about Edward Porter and deliberately excluded him, we sue for fraud. And how much will it cost? Nathan asked, worried. Because I have exactly $1,347 in my bank account. We'll work on a contingency basis, Marcus replied. We don't charge anything until we win. When we win, we receive 30% of the recovered amount. Nathan choked. 30% of $320 million is $96 million, David finished. That's a lot of money, but that's how cases like this work. And frankly, we're worth every penny, because Chad's lawyers are going to try to destroy us. And Sarah, I asked, my voice low, my daughter, will she be affected? Angela looked at me with compassion. Mr. Thompson, I'll be honest. If we win, Whitmore Digital Industries will undergo a massive restructuring. Chad could lose control. The company could even be forced to sell. Sarah, as Chad's wife, will feel the financial impact. And if we prove fraud, Chad could go to prison, David added. Corporate fraud is a federal crime. We're talking years in jail. I closed my eyes. My Sarah, my daughter, the girl I raised. But then I remembered. She stayed silent while Chad was destroying me. She chose his side, and she was living in luxury built on what should have belonged to Nathan. Let's do it, he finally said. Nathan looked at me, surprised. Are you sure? She's your daughter, and you are the rightful heir, I replied. This isn't about personal revenge. It's about doing the right thing. I was lying a little. It was also about revenge, but mainly, it was about justice. Okay, Marcus clapped his hands. So that's it. Let's begin. First step, we need to conduct a full audit of Whitmore Digital Industries. We need to see every corporate record since 1982. We'll request this officially. When? Nathan asked. Tomorrow, David smiled. We'll settle things quickly, before they have time to prepare a defense. We'll file a civil lawsuit tomorrow morning, demanding full access to all corporate records. And will they know it was me? I asked. Eventually, yes, Marcus confirmed. When they find out that you were the one who found the documents, you'll be called as a witness. And Chad? Well, Chad will know. Smile. A bitter smile, but a smile nonetheless. Great. I want him to know. I want him to know that the poor bum he kicked out was the one who destroyed his empire. So, Angela raised a pen as if it were a goblet. To justice? To justice, we all responded in unison. The war had begun. Finally, now Chad will pay. Are you rooting for Robert? On Wednesday at 8:30 a.m., Marcus's team officially filed the civil action in federal court in Austin. Nathan Porter versus Whitmore Digital Industries, a lawsuit seeking recognition of 40% ownership of the company, unpaid dividends, and damages. Marcus called me at 9 a.m. It's done. The process is in the system. In a matter of hours, the media will pick it up. He was right. At 11 a.m., the first article appeared in the Austin Business Journal. Local man sues Whitmore Digital for $320 million. At 1 p.m., I was on the local TV news. At 3 p.m., it was national news. My phone started ringing. Incessantly. Unknown numbers, reporters. I ignored them all except one. Sarah's number. I answered on the third ring. "Dad?" Her voice trembled, filled with anger. "What did you do?" "Sarah. No, not Sarah at all. Chad just called me screaming. You sued his company. You're trying to destroy our family?" "Family?" The anger in my voice surprised me. "You stayed silent when your husband kicked me out of my grandson's party. You abandoned me. Because you are... She was crying. "Now, why are you doing this? Is it for revenge because Chad was rude to you?" "Rude," I was yelling now. "He humiliated me. He called me trash. He dragged me out like I was nothing. And you didn't say a word." "I couldn't, Dad. You don't understand. Chad has so much control over our lives, over my life. If I had disagreed with him right there, in front of all those investors..." "You chose the money," I said, my voice cold now. "You chose the mansion and the luxury cars and the expensive parties. You chose that over your own father." "No," she sobbed. "It's not about money. It's complicated." "Then explain to me why you let him do that." Silence on the line, only the sound of her crying. "Sarah, I have to go," she said finally. "Chad is calling me. The lawyers are here." And he hung up. I held the phone, my heart heavy. Part of me wanted to go back. I wanted to call Marcus and cancel everything. She was my daughter, the only family I had. But then my phone rang again. Nathan. "Robert, did you see the news?" They're painting me as an opportunist, as someone who appeared out of nowhere wanting a piece of the pie. The business commentators on TV are saying I'm a con artist. "Ignore them," I advised. "People will talk, but we have the documents. We have the truth." "His daughter, Chad's daughter, is she your daughter?" "And..." "Robert," Nathan hesitated, "we can stop now. I don't want to destroy your family. I have 2 children. I understand what family means." For a moment I considered it. It would be so easy. Call Marcus, withdraw the lawsuit, go back to my simple life. But then I remembered Oliver calling me grandpa, Chad smashing the gift I bought with my last savings, the crowd's laughter as I was dragged outside. "No," he said firmly, "let's continue. You deserve what's yours." "He is sure?" "Absolute." After I hung up, I sat on my porch. The sun was beginning to set. My neighbors, hard-working people like me, were walking by on their way home from work. Mrs. Martinez waved to me. She had no idea that old Robert Thompson was at the center of a $500 million lawsuit. My phone vibrated. A text message from an unknown number. "You're making the biggest mistake of your life. Drop the lawsuit now, or you'll regret it. Chad." He smiled. It was the first time he had communicated directly with me. I replied, "See you in court." I blocked the number. Night fell, but for the first time in weeks, I slept well, because I knew I had made the right choice. The truth was on our side, and Chad Whitmore was about to discover that you don't humiliate a man who has nothing left to lose with impunity. This Chad is pathetic. Threatening him now? Share if you think he's going to get what's coming to him. 2 weeks later, the preliminary hearing took place. The Austin Federal Courthouse was packed. Reporters, onlookers, even some of Nathan's supporters who had shown up, holding signs that read, "Justice for Nathan and Whitmore shut to fraud." I was sitting behind Nathan's desk, along with Marcus and the team. Across the hall, Chad was surrounded by 6 lawyers in $5,000 suits. He wore an impeccable navy blue suit, his hair perfectly combed. the picture of confidence. But when our eyes met, I saw something there. Fear, anger. Whatever it was, he stared at me with pure hatred. Sarah was there too, sitting behind him. She glanced at me once, then quickly looked away. She looked thin and tired. The last 2 weeks had clearly taken their toll. The judge entered, Judge Margaret Henderson, a 60-year-old woman known for being tough but fair. "Good morning," she began. "We are here for the preliminary hearing in the case of Porter versus Whitmore Digital Industries. I will hear arguments regarding the defendant's petition to dismiss the case." Chad's lead attorney stood up. Richard Ashford, one of the best corporate lawyers in Texas. Tall, gray hair, a voice that commanded the room. "Your Honor, this case is a sham. Mr. Porter appears out of nowhere, 42 years after these alleged documents were created, claiming ownership of nearly $500 million. The statute of limitations is clear. This case should be dismissed immediately." Angela stood up in our defense. "Your Honor, the statute of limitations requires that the injured party knew or should have known about their right. Mr. Porter had no way of knowing. His father hid these documents. He never had access to them. It wasn't negligence on his part. It was deliberate concealment of information." "But 42 years, Your Honor," Ashford argued. "When do we say enough? When do we stop allowing people to come up decades later claiming rights? Whitmore Digital was built with the sweat and hard work of the Whitmore family. They invested millions. They created jobs. They innovated. And now this man simply wants to take everything?" "No one is taking anything," Angela retorted. "We are claiming what has always rightfully belonged to Mr. Porter. The Whitmores took control of a company without conducting due diligence to locate all shareholders. That is corporate negligence." Judge Henderson raised her hand. "Calm down, both of you. Ms. Martinez, do you have the original documents?" "Yes, Your Honor." Angela picked up the folder. Authenticated share certificates, dated 1982. Showing that Edward Porter owned 40% of Southwestern Tech Solutions. We also have Edward Porter's death certificate from 1991 and documents proving that Nathan Porter is his sole legal heir. The judge examined the papers for several minutes. The room was in absolute silence. I could hear my own heart beating. "Mr. Ashford," the judge finally spoke, "do you have any evidence that the Whitmores attempted to locate Edward Porter when they took control of the company in 1987? Ashford hesitated. "Your Honor, that was 37 years ago. Records from that time may have been lost." "So you have no evidence?" she interrupted. "Ms. Martinez, are you alleging there was deliberate fraud?" "We are still investigating, Your Honor, but at the very least there was gross negligence, and we have requested full access to all of Whitmore Digital's corporate records since 1982 to determine the extent." "Your Honor, this is a fishing expedition," Ashford protested. "They want access to sensitive proprietary information. They want access to information about a company in which their client owns 40%. The judge replied curtly. She banged the gavel. "The petition to dismiss is denied. This case will proceed. And Mr. Ashford, prepare to hand over those corporate records. You have 30 days. Chad's side erupted in urgent murmurs. Chad turned to Ashford, clearly furious. On our side, Nathan grabbed my arm. "Did we win?" "We won the first battle," Marcus smiled. "Now comes the war." I looked at Chad. He was staring at me with absolute hatred. Smile back. Checkmate. The 30-day deadline passed in tension. Chad's team tried every legal trick to delay the delivery of the corporate records. Each day, a new motion, a new objection, a new maneuver. But Judge Henderson wasn't playing around. She rejected every single one of them. On the 30th day, at exactly 5 p.m., the last possible minute, A delivery truck arrived at Marcus's office. Inside, 47 boxes of documents. "They're drowning us in paper," David observed, looking at the mountain of boxes. "It's a classic tactic, burying the needle in the haystack." "Then let's find the needle," Angela replied, determined. For the next 2 weeks, the whole team worked 18 hours a day. I helped when I could. After all, I had free time and nothing more important to do. Nathan took time off work on weekends to help out as well. We reviewed every document. Contracts from 1982, meeting minutes, financial transactions, email exchanges from when emails became commonplace in the 1990s. And then, in the 3rd week, Angela found it. "I found it!" she shouted at 11 p.m. on a Thursday. We all rushed to the conference room where she was. She was holding a letter dated March 1987. "Read it," she said, her hands trembling with excitement. The letter was from a lawyer named Harold Peterson, writing to James Whitmore, Chad's father. "Caro Senior Whitmore, as requested, we conducted an exhaustive search for Edward Porter, a shareholder of Southwestern Tech Solutions. Our investigators confirm that Mr. Porter is currently experiencing financial hardship and personal instability due to problems with alcoholism. He appears to be unaware of the current value of his shares. As discussed, we recommend proceeding with the acquisition without contacting him directly. Given his situation, it is unlikely he will take legal action. Furthermore, as you noted, the company urgently needs capital, and we cannot wait. Please confirm if you wish to proceed as planned. Yours sincerely, Harold Peterson, Esq." Silence. Absolute silence, while everyone processed it. "They knew," Nathan whispered. "They knew about my father. They knew about his actions, and they deliberately excluded him." "This is fraud," Marcus confirmed, his voice deep. "Clear corporate fraud. James Whitmore knowingly took control of a company knowing there was another shareholder with legitimate rights and deliberately failed to contact him." "And there's more." Angela was flipping through more documents. "Here, a response from James Whitmore. Proceed. Porter will never know, and if you do, you won't have the means to sue us. Let's do this right and fast." "Son of a bitch," David hissed. This is gold. This isn't just corporate fraud. This is criminal conspiracy." Nathan sat down heavily. "My father, they knew he was sick. They knew he didn't have money. And they took advantage of that." "Yes," I confirmed, feeling anger burning in my chest. "And Chad inherited all of this. He built his empire on this fraud. The question is," Angela pondered, "does Chad know? Did he know about his father's fraud?" Marcus shook his head. "Even if he didn't know it initially, he is legally responsible. He inherited not only the assets, but also the debts and criminal liabilities of the company." "So what do we do now?" Nathan asked. "Now," Marcus smiled, "we'll hand this over to the public prosecutor. Because it's no longer just a civil case, it's a criminal one." 3 days later, the news broke. Criminal proceedings opened against Whitmore. Digital CEO. Documents reveal massive corporate fraud. Chad Whitmore faces possible prison. I turned on the TV. Chad was leaving a government building, surrounded by lawyers and cameras. Reporters were shouting questions. "Mr. Whitmore, did you know about your father's fraud? Mr. Whitmore, are you going to resign as CEO? Mr. Whitmore, is it true that the company could be forced into bankruptcy?" Chad didn't answer, but when the camera focused on his face, I saw something I'd never seen before. Real panic. The empire was crumbling, and he knew it. I picked up my phone and texted Nathan, "Justice is being served." He replied immediately, "Thanks to you." But the truth, I wasn't sure if I felt victorious or just empty. Because in the process I had lost my daughter, and I didn't know if I would ever get her back. Chad is ruined. But is it worth it if Robert lost his daughter? It was on a cold Tuesday in November when I received the visit that would change everything. I was in the garage trying to fix up my old pickup truck when I heard a knock at the door. I got up, wiped the grease off my hands, and went to answer it. It was Chad, but not the arrogant, confident Chad who kicked me out of the party. This Chad was disheveled, unshaven with red eyes. He looked like he hadn't slept in days. "What do you want?" I asked, blocking the door. 5 minutes, he said, his voice hoarse. "Please, just 5 minutes." Against my better judgment, I opened the door. He came in, looking around my simple house as if he were in a museum of poverty. "Speak," I ordered. "I didn't know," he began, "about my father's fraud. I swear to God, Robert, I didn't know." "And should I believe you?" "I know it's impossible." He ran a hand through his hair. "I know that I treated you terribly. I was arrogant, cruel. Everything you say is true. Then why are you here?" "Because Sarah..." He stopped, his voice breaking. "Sarah is leaving me. She took Oliver and left. She said she can't look at me anymore, that I destroyed our family, that I destroyed you." Okay. Part of me wanted to say that out loud. I wanted to rub it in his face. But something stopped me. And the company is going bankrupt. The stock has fallen 67% since the lawsuit became public. All the investors are leaving. The board voted to remove me as CEO. I'm going to lose everything. Again. And? He looked at me, tears now in his eyes. "Tell me what to do. Tell me how to fix this. You won, okay? You completely destroyed me. But Sarah, Oliver, they don't deserve to suffer because of my mistakes." "You should have thought about that," I replied coldly, "when you dragged me out of my grandson's party." "I know!" he shouted. "I know, damn it! I messed everything up, but please, please, there has to be something I can do, some deal, some way to..." "Of what? Of you maintaining your empire built on fraud?" "No, I don't want the empire. I just want my family back. Sarah isn't answering my calls. Oliver is asking about me, and she's living here with you." I blinked. "What? You didn't know?" Chad laughed bitterly. "Sarah came back here yesterday. She's staying at the hotel on the corner because she was afraid to bother you, but she came to you, not to her parents, not to her friends, to the father she abandoned." My heart raced. "Sarah was here, in Austin, nearby." "Get out of my house," he told Chad. "Robert, please, get out," I yelled. "You humiliated me, destroyed my dignity, took me away from my grandson's life, and now you come here crying. You're reaping what you sowed." Chad stood still for a moment, then turned and left. He stopped at the door. "You know what's funny?" he said without looking at me. "I always knew you were a better man than me. From the day I met Sarah, she spoke of you with so much love. The father who worked 2 jobs to pay for her college. The father who was there at every recital, every graduation, every important moment. He turned around, and I was envious of that because my father only cared about money and power. He never hugged me. He never said he loved me. And when he died and left me this company, I thought I finally had something that would make me special, that would make me enough." Tears streamed down his face. But he didn't. He just turned me into a version of himself, and now I've lost everything that really mattered. He left, and I just stood there in my room processing it. Part of me felt satisfaction, complete revenge, but the other part, he just felt tired. I found Sarah at the hotel an hour later. She was at the reception desk, with Oliver asleep in her lap. My heart nearly burst when I saw them. "Dad," she said when she saw me, starting to cry. I didn't say anything. I just hugged her. I hugged my daughter for the first time in almost a year, and she cried on my shoulder like when she was a child and had nightmares. "I'm so sorry," she sobbed. "I'm so sorry. I should have defended you. I should have—" "Shh," I soothed, stroking her hair. "Everything's all right now?" "No, he's not." She turned away. "Chad told me everything about the fraud, about what his father did, and I was living a life of luxury built on theft, on destroying other people's lives." Oliver woke up, rubbing his eyes. "Grandpa?" My heart melted. "Hi, champ." "Grandpa, you're back." He threw himself into my arms. I held my grandson, breathing in his scent, feeling his small weight. I had lost a year of his life, a year I would never get back. "I'm never leaving again," I promised. In the following weeks, a lot happened. Nathan officially received his shares, 40% of Whitmore Digital Industries. With the company in crisis, he and the board decided to sell. A California-based technology company bought everything for $450 million. Nathan received $180 million. After paying Marcus and the team $54 million, he was left with $126 million. The first thing he did, he created a scholarship fund for the children of low-income workers in Austin in honor of his father, Edward. The second, he bought a house, not a mansion, a normal 3-bedroom house in a family neighborhood. "I'm not going to become what Chad was," he told me. "Money isn't going to change me." He also offered me money. After all, I had found the documents. I refused. "That was rightfully yours. I was just correcting an old mistake." But he insisted. He deposited $2 million into my account for your retirement, and so you can spoil Oliver. Chad was criminally prosecuted, but in a twist, the prosecutor decided there wasn't enough evidence that he knew about the fraud before inheriting the company. So he didn't go to jail, but he lost everything. The mansion, the cars, everything went to pay off company debts and legal settlements. Sarah divorced him. She got full custody of Oliver. And do you know where they're living? At home. Sarah got a job as a teacher. She returned to her first love before marrying Chad. It doesn't pay much, but she's happy, genuinely happy. Oliver goes to the neighborhood public school. He plays with the neighborhood kids, and every day after school, he comes to the garage with me, where I'm teaching him how to fix things. "Grandpa, can I use the real hammer today?" he asks, his little eyes shining. "Yes, you can, champ, but be careful." Sarah is in the kitchen making dinner. Something simple, spaghetti, not the 3-course dinners that Chad's private chef used to make, and it's perfect. As for me, well, I still live in the same house. I still drive the same old pickup truck. Nathan's $2 million is in the bank, earning interest. I'll use it to pay for Oliver's college when the time comes. I don't need mansions. I don't need luxury cars. I have my daughter back. I have my grandson. I have my dignity. And Chad, I heard he's working as a store manager somewhere out of town, starting from scratch. Part of me feels sorry. But most importantly, I feel that justice has been served, because in the end, it's not about how much money you have. It's not about the size of your house or the price of your car. It's about who's by your side when everything falls apart. And me? I have my family, and that's worth more than $800 million. If this story moved you, share it with your family. And subscribe to the channel for more stories of redemption. What was your favorite part? Comment below.